We're here at Birr to launch Lex Innocentium 21st Century, because Birr is the hometown of the original Lex Innocentium, which was actually a law made here in Birr in the year 697 AD, sometimes referred to as the First Geneva Convention. So it took the Europeans a long time to catch up with us here in Ireland. And then we're going to Redwood Castle, because Redwood plays a very important part in the history of the original Lex Innocentium, in preserving it for us. Lex Innocentium 21st Century is a bottom-up, soft power, moral, people's law that declares war to be a crime against humanity, a crime against the earth, and a crime against the future.
Adamnan is not a well-known person in Ireland today. He's no minor figure in our history. He is a huge figure and deserves to be much better known. And I am hoping that your input into this now will help to do that. And when we look at our modern world and measure him against that, his law has become grimly relevant. What I see you as doing is embracing Adamnan's legacy. It needs to be made more well-known, not just Ireland, but all over the world.
All non-violence initiatives are welcome in these troubled times, but one that declares war to be a crime against humanity, a crime against the earth, and a crime against the future speaks directly to the heart of this peace organisation. There were, of course, no weapons of mass destruction when the original Lex Innocentium was signed by those 92 bishops, abbots, kings and chiefs from Scotland, Ireland and northern Britain attending that Synod of Birr in 697 AD. But the most terrible violence could be meted out in war to women and children in those days, the innocents. That law which the 9th Abbot of Iona wrote declared it a crime to kill or harm women, youth, clergy and those in the care of the Church. When Ellen Moxley, Angie Zelter and Ulla Rhoda pleaded guilty in Greenock Sheriff Court in 1998 to causing malicious damage to a barge carrying sonar equipment and documents which were part of the Trident nuclear submarine system based at Faslane, they invoked that law because it protects non-combatants, mostly women, from violence. And they were acquitted. Your new version of the law takes the concept into our world. A world where weapons of mass destruction are hoarded under the misapprehension that they will deter war. A world where the use and testing of nuclear weapons have taken thousands of innocent lives and destroyed vital ecosystems.
There's an African proverb that says, "Until lions have their historians, tales of hunters will always glorify the hunter." Daniel O'Connell was an important figure not only in building a mass non-violent democratic movement, but also on the European stage. And if you go back a century or so before Adamnan's time, it seems St. Bridget may have got up to all sorts of things, including being a mediator and provider of a place of sanctuary. The WILPF, Women's International League for Peace and Freedom Congress of 1926 was held in Dublin. The Irish representative to WILPF was Louis Bennett, who was an all-round activist not just on peace, including as a mediator in the Civil War following independence, but on women's and labour rights. In modern times, Irish military peacekeeping missions with the UN have been a source of national pride. And peace came to Northern Ireland through a process of talking, mediation and conciliation, as well as grassroots action. And the perpetrators, including the British state, eventually pulled in their horns and forsook violence.
This law will give hope to millions of people around the world, particularly in Ireland. Hope and a fresh vision that we can build a better way for the human family to live together. We're being forced by people to divide and to rebuild militarism and war. And yet we all know in our hearts this is the wrong way to go. To destroy and spend our resources on killing machines is not right when children are dying of starvation. We must respect life, all life, no matter where it is, and respect the earth, which provides so much for us in such a beautiful world. So we can do this. Ireland must uphold its neutrality and not be complicit in the war games. We have a beautiful history of non-violence, and Ireland's role will be to play the peacemaker and give hope to its youth and hope to the world.
I think you're all probably familiar with the phrase, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Violence for profit is a threat to the future of humanity and to the very planet that we're living on. That is the reality. While one is going on, the organising is going on for the next one. It counts its profits in billions, it counts its cost in human lives. Today, it may be even more accurate to characterise this as the military, industrial, academic, bureaucratic, complex, and maybe we could add media for good measure, because I think they're very much intrinsic in this whole process. The giant corporations that dominate the trade are Lockheed Martin, BAE Systems, Boeing, Northrop, Grumman, Raytheon, and this whole process is growing more international and transnational all the time. Countries all over the world, including Ireland, is involved in this trade. We have to kind of be aware that we are now considered to be closer to the use of nuclear weapons than we have been at any time since the Cuban Missile Crisis. And make no mistake, a third world war with nuclear weapons involved would be the last world war.
I am not at war with anyone. I am not at war with anyone. Go away, warplanes. You bring fear and shame. I am not at war with anyone. I give my love to Iraq and to Syria. I give my love to Israel and to Palestine. We could live as one between the sea and sun. I am not at war with anyone.
When we include other wars, especially in Africa, the deaths of all children who have died due to war-related reasons since the end of the so-called Cold War may exceed 5 million. All lives matter, including the lives of soldiers killed in wars, and especially the lives of civilians and other non-combatants. However, those of us who have contributed to the Name of the Children project firmly believe that the lives of children and the protection of children in all circumstances, including in wars, must be prioritised. All societies, including governments and the so-called international community, have the solemn duty to protect children who are not in a position to protect themselves.
Let us, through your inspiration, cry loudly and clearly, no more war, no more killing, maiming, destruction, and certainly no more squandering vast amounts of monies on war while people on our planet are starving and our beautiful earth home is suffering. So we say yes to peace, no to war, protect the innocents and protect our beautiful earth, letting us rise up in love and solidarity to prevent and stop all wars. We won't stand idly by. We are speaking up and speaking out, giving witness, and we are taking the side of peace. For we will not abandon peace, that name so rarely spoken, even when its voice is weakened, drowned out by hurt, hatred, even bitterness, and it's often lost in the cacophony of the noise from the beating drums of winnerless wars.
Can we shift our way? Have we come to love this planet Earth? Soil, water, mountains, everything is like a caress of God, looking now upon the world in a different way, not as something to be used and abused, I mean, the children were obviously collateral damage, expendable. And so the earth is another part of collateral damage because we don't see her as our sister either. We think of the soil, the water, the trees, the creatures, the raised earth, the forests cut down, bodies decaying without the decency of burial in Mother Earth, farmlands destroyed. And even here, when we think of our rivers that we're polluting, we think of Loch Ness and the sludge. Do we sense in ourselves the desertification of the soil almost as a physical ailment and the extinction of a species as a painful disfigurement?
War is just not viable anymore. We have such tremendously destructive weapons that don't distinguish between non-combatants and soldiers that we have to find a new way of solving our diplomatic and political problems without violence. I believe that's possible. I'm also a complete believer, as was Columba and Saint Adomnan, in the power of prayer, meditation, spirit, to work miracles. That's the tradition of all the sages and saints of humanity, be it the ancient Druids of Ireland, the Buddhists, the Jains, the Hindus, the Christians, and we all want peace.
I'm certain that the spirit of Adomnan is with us here today. We are writing this new law at a time when there are at least 110 armed conflicts happening across our planet. We believe there is a very real risk that one of these wars will spill over into nuclear war. What we call the military-industrial complex is growing ever more powerful. Around the world, governments seem more and more out of touch with their people, and many of us feel that we can no longer rely on journalism for the truth. Be aware that the war system needs the fear-funding cycle to justify itself and to maintain itself. We know that peace is not the absence of conflict, it is the ability to cope with conflict by peaceful means.
Life can only flourish in peaceful times. And what do we want? We want humanity to move forward. And we want people to have fulfilling lives. I would love peace to be part of what we want for each other, peace in our hearts. But this is life, isn't it? When you do something, you never really see the impact until it's over. The meeting in Birr was a great success. And when we heard Professor Maguire speak, I mean, the thought that had gone into his speech was tremendous. So I'm very impressed.
Nowadays, war is much more serious. I'm involved in a separate project called Naming the Children to try and encourage people and make people aware of how many children are dying in wars. This particular project, again, plays into that. Ireland is actively supporting Ukraine in the war against Russia, both financially and militarily. We have Irish soldiers helping to train Ukrainian soldiers to kill Russian people. There's a real danger that if Russia wanted to make an example of some country, he could target Shannon without the risk of involving a NATO country. The Irish government is endangering the lives of Irish people and the workers of Shannon Airport by abandoning our neutrality. The European Union was sold as a peace project, and in its early decades was to some extent a genuine peace project. Now you could almost say it's a war project. The European Union has been virtually hijacked by NATO. There are now only 4 countries within the European Union who are not full members of NATO. We are being dragged into it by our government against the wishes of the vast majority of our people.
So we may hear in the background the ringing of the peace bell at this amazing old castle, which has figured in the story of the Lex Innocentium. Not only had we the wonderful discussion this morning of the different aspects of our present crisis and the relevance of a modern Lex Innocentium to them, but we were able to come to this really fitting setting, this amazing old castle, which gave a tremendous resonance in every sense to the privilege I had of reading the Lex and being there among the first signatories of it. So the day has been wonderful. I mean, it has given us a hard analytical account of what's wrong with the world. It's given us hope and energy about what we should do and can do to resolve it. And then it has finished here with the restating of a 7th century law, which is essentially relevant to our world today and has been re-expressed by the wonderful organisers of this event.
Thank you.